Hey everyone, it's Simone, and I'm here with you with Bella Crystal, and we're here for another soul communication. Today we're going to talk to the 28. Super exciting. Bella, why don't you tell everybody how this works?
So we are going to tap into the energy of Gene Key 28 and the gate 28. So this is where the sun is right now. So that's the energy that is activated collectively. And the way that we do is more fun than just to kind of read the books. Simone is tapping into the energy of you could say the soul archetype, and it's connected to what we do in the 64 doors, where we create an archetype for each one of the gates and the gene keys. And we would love you, if you're on and you feel this energy, this activated Scorpio energy in the 28, or if you maybe have it in your chart, you could ask about how it comes out, or anything that you're curious about. So we love interaction. And even if you ask questions here, if you're watching the replay, we're going to try to get to it and respond to you. So thank you for being with us.
So interesting. I was talking to someone I work with, Susan. Shout out to Susan if you're with us today. And she was sharing with me that when she listens to the soul communication, she's found that if she doodles or draws while she's listening, it really helps her to then tap back into the energy of the soul communication, after it's done. So she's finding that that's a way to really continually connect with the key, the gate, the hex that we are communicating with the soul archetype. So I'm just going to encourage you guys, if that feels light, to pick up a pencil or some colored pencils and have it with you as you're listening, and see what comes through you as you are engaging with this energy. Super fun. I was delighted that she shared that. So, all right. We're so grateful that y'all are here, and we'll get started. And if you have any questions, just ask them in the chat. Let's go. I like to communicate with the soul of the 28 for the purpose of healing and wisdom for the highest vibration. Hmm. So, the first image that I get is, imagine a Ferris, a merry-go-round, and the merry-go-round is spinning to the right, and it feels like um, the merry-go-round is going super fast, and the people who are on the merry-go-round are kind of hanging off, and it feels very fun. And then suddenly another merry-go-round starts spinning counterclockwise, and then suddenly it feels a little scary, and it moved from kind of fiesta or celebration to, oh no, what's happening, a little bit of surprise and a little bit of anxiety. And then the two merry-go-rounds start to shift in elevation, and the one spinning to the right is moving up, and the one spinning to the left is moving down. And they're connected by a cylinder. So imagine a cylinder, if you will, and one rising up and one lowering. And there are beings on the lower one that is spinning counterclockwise, that are going down, and they're like, oh no, what's going on? And the ones that are going up are saying, oh no, what's happening? So it's interesting how different spins, different directions, and yet the same kind of response. Oh no, what's going on? What's going on here? And now they're coming back into um, alignment, if you will. They approach each other, and then they switch places. And so then the same thing happens. The ones on the upper trajectory are going, what's going on? And the ones on the downward spinning spiral are going, what's going on? I don't know. There's this feeling in my body of what's happening here. like, you know, like, I don't know what's happening here. What's happening here? And then suddenly all the spinning stops and people are just getting off, like, walking off of the merry-go-round. And some of them start walking and they're super solid. They are walking, they feel grounded, they're connected, they know exactly where they are. And others who are getting off the merry-go-round are wobbly, and it's like they've lost their sense of balance, their sense of groundedness. And the 28 says, and maybe they didn't even have it before they got on the merry-go-round. And the 28 is saying that um, this trajectory, if you will, is essential and non-essential. That the journey is that it's both essential and non-essential to get on the merry-go-round. Some people get on the merry-go-round because they want the experience of it, and it doesn't take them out of themselves. And other people get on the merry-go-round because they don't even know that they're getting on the merry-go-round, and they're taking on the spin that's really non-essential. Um, and so the 28 is saying to us, um, dare to know what you're doing, what you're creating. Dare to choose consciousness in what experience you're creating. Now, the 28 has a sense of humor, because then as the 28 was talking, that merry-go-round that was going like this is now rolling forward, and there are people who are on it, and they're going around and around, moving forward, and they're laughing and having a good time, um, and just moving. And the 28 says that all of the spinning is just an illusion, and that we're on our trajectories, whether we are aware of that we're spinning, that we're spiraling, that we're emanating, that we're going straight in straight lines, that the journey of expansion, when the 28 says the journey of expansion, what I see is just this energy emanating out. It's like, imagine your light force just emanating out from you. The journey of expansion is multifaceted and different for everyone, and that whether you're spinning or emanating or twisting and turning, whether you're going in to one point, whether you're bringing all, shows some people just bringing all their energy into like a 0 point field, if you will, that each person's journey of expansion is different, always unfolding, fascinating, treacherous, exhilarating, exuberant, thrilling, fulfilling, plunging, joyful. She says she could go on and on and on and on. That for each of us, the ride, if you will, is fascinating. And she says that the part that she's talking about with consciousness is, if you're going to choose the roller coaster, do it with consciousness. Oh, I want to go on this roller coaster ride, and I realize that some of it is going to be fun, some of it's going to be peaceful, some of it is going to be treacherous and scary. And yet I'm taking this journey for the whole experience of it. That the way she's showing it to me is like the roller coaster going up, kind of resting, and it's peaceful and still. And then that moment at the top of the roller coaster, there's a moment of breath. And then the downhill is sometimes treacherous, and the spinning is scary. Am I going to fly out? Am I going to hold together? Um, and that when we embark on our journeys, knowing that anything is possible, that everything is possible, and that to choose to embrace the whole um, realm of possibility on that journey, that when we do that with consciousness, a conscious knowing that the possibility for anything and everything is right there, that's when um, we stay within ourselves on that journey, and we get to experience the totality of it, embracing, the joyful to the treacherous, the peaceful to the scary, the waking up to the illusion, um, and the fun of it. I really am appreciating how much of a sense of humor the 28 has as this transmission comes through. It feels like time for engagement. Bella, are you there? Do you have any questions for the 28? And as I am waiting for Bella to come on, the 28 looks at me and says, "Are you terrified? Where is she?" And I'm just laughing because I'm like, well, it is what it is. It'll be what it'll be. And I'm okay with.
I don't know. I've had this thing today, and I guess it's maybe Mercury retrograde, but I've had this thing all day where actually my camera kind of like stops, and or it's my microphone that is echoing. So I don't know. That can be a little bit terrifying. And I do have a question, because I'm thinking about the roller coaster. And in my life, I have nothing in my emotion center. So for me, the roller coaster has always been what I think about people that are emotionally defined. And I'm like, oh no, no, because I can feel it amplifies in me. And it's interesting because here we have a splenic gate, and I understand that, in one way, on the outside, it might look like a roller coaster. But yeah, I feel like for me, the roller coaster is something emotional. So what kind of, like, I would like to hear more about the roller coaster, because I feel it's more like this leap than a roller coaster. It's more like kind of like the jumping in and the transcending something, and it doesn't feel like a roller coaster. So I'm just interested in hearing more about the roller coaster.
Yeah, so she shows me that for some, the roller coaster is emotional. But for others, it almost feels like when you were talking about the undefined spleen, what she showed me is it's like just this series of events. This, imagine you're on the Amazing Race, where it's just this kind of wheel of continual events. And um, when she shows it to me as this continual movement of things, there's no time to be emotional. It's just like, grab your suitcase, get the plane, get off the plane, get the train. The focus isn't on how it feels as the roller coaster is going. The focus is on just, the the movement. And that might be, I mean, as you asked that, she flashed back those rings, the merry-go-round when it's split. And it might be that, the ones who were on that upward ring were like, oh no, what's going on? And the ones who were on the downward spiral were like, oh no, what's going on? It was the same. It was the same words, but a different energy about it. So, yeah, it's just a different experience of whether you want to say the roller coaster or the constant movement of things. Either way, there. She says that the expansion is movement, however you want to describe the movement, and the experience of expansion can be peaceful, it can be filled with emotion, it can be a series of tasks that you're just moving through. Yeah. Did that help? I think you're muted.
This is how I feel. I can understand on the outside that that's how it can be perceived. I have a lot of those Scorpio gates, and I'm thinking even about Jinky 1. It can look like frenetic on the outside, but it doesn't feel frenetic on the inside. I guess that's what I'm saying, because it's this quest for purpose, this quest for purpose, but at the same time, it's about totality in the moment. It's about being completely alive in the moment. And I guess from the outside, that can be how it is perceived. Um, and I had another question about it as
Wait,
well.
before you go on,
Yeah.
she's talking about totality. She liked that you brought up that idea of totality, because who is to say what's the totality for any given person? Right? The totality of the experience is the full embracing of the experience, the conscious embracing of the experience, whether that's through the emotional wave or, you know, non emotional, that it's a series of tasks that, you're just working through, So she says that the totality is in the quality with which you experience the expanding moment.
So what about, maybe we do speak a little bit about the mechanics. So in the body graph, we have the 28 that comes down from the splenic center, and it meets the 38 and goes down to the root. So the fuel of the 38, and then this kind of instinct of the 28, and it's called the channel of struggle, and it's an individual circuitry. So it can have a lot of this melancholy where you feel like, if the purpose isn't there, like, what's the point? Why am I fighting this fight? And then the 38 comes in with this fuel, so that you can go, what I say sometimes, to the last drop of blood. But the discernment, and I guess my question is about the discernment of, like, when are we just stubborn, like, kind of with our, like, doing this against the wall, and when do we know that we are on purpose? Like, what is there any advice on making the difference between stubbornness and determination, I guess, is the best way of putting the question.
Great question. Let's see what she has to say. Well, she says that relates to what she started with about the consciousness of the movement through the expanding experience or experiences, the connection of experiences. And she says that the first thing she shows me is that when there's a block in the flow, it that's the first experience. The first thing I see on my screen, it's almost like there's a dam, and that when you're not in the flow with the 38, you kind of hit this wall that doesn't allow the connection up with the 28. And she shows that block happens for a variety of reasons and experiences, events, and it most often has to do with the ability to perceive one's gifts and flaws. Like, can you truly see the truth of who you are? or are you only seeing your flaws, your shadows, your challenges? Where where on the it's not so cut and dry, right? That rarely is it that someone's totally in shadow and or in the corruption or the flaw, and fully in the gift or the city. It's usually kind of a melting pot of that. And where are you in that mix of vibration that um, it's so multidimensional. And she says that it's really about the awareness to see oneself. Can you truly look at the gift of who you are and what your gifts truly are? Can you look at what your wounds are? Where your fragmentation is? Can you look at that honestly and hold it, if you will? And she's showing that the more you can hold the fragmentation, the shadow, um, the corruption of you, and move forward with that, the more you can actually see the truth, the gift. The more you can be open to the flow of the gifts meeting each other. And so she says that she encourages us to truly be able to look in the mirror and say, the example she gives is, oh, I have beautiful eyes, and simultaneously I have a pimple right here. I have a wart. I have some wrinkles. It's the understanding the full expression of where you are right now. And when you can hold all of that, then the flow opens up between the 28 and the 38, and you can start to realize the power of the truth of that magnetic, that channel of light between those two. And it's like, it reminds me of um, living in the desert for so long. We have these dry washes, and some of them have water underground. You can feel it in the temperature, but there's no water above, the surface. And then when it starts to rain, you might see like a little bit of the stream. But then when the full on water comes through, it just, the water starts rising up from beneath the surface, and the water is coming down from the heavens, and then you get this raging flow of water. That's what it was like. She was showing me, like, when you can hold all of this and you start to make that little stream, then suddenly you get into the full flow, and you can open up that whole channel and see yourself and see the truth of that. And she says it's not just within yourself, it's also when you're with someone who maybe you have the 28 as your gate and somebody else has the 38. And so then that alignment can happen within you and without you when you are co-creating or in relationship with others. What a beautiful example with that, the dry wash and the rain coming, the natural, the well of water coming up while the rain, and then the building of the flow. Really beautiful.
Yeah, I feel that when you say that, I'm thinking about the embracing of the dark, which is one of the key themes for this gate, and that thing about the observation of, like, yeah, okay, I have beautiful eyes and I have a pimple. Like, it's taking me back to plant medicine ceremonies and to these places where so much is going on, and that where there is so much perceived darkness. And in those moments, if we can just be with what is in that kind of neutral observation, that's the only kind of way of transcending it. And I remember it so much, like, on my own skin. I remember especially, I think it was really an initiation for me. It was probably around this, it was in November, I think. So around this time, a little bit later in the year. So we were in the Scorpio gates, and I saw so much darkness, so much darkness. It felt like I saw all the darkness that had ever been there. It was an ayahuasca ceremony, and I couldn't understand why if there was so much darkness, why was I sitting kind of like, it was outside and it was kind of raining, but I had this thing with wool on me. I wasn't wet. Like, why was I sitting there in a chair? Okay, when there's so much darkness. And then I felt like pulled, like I have to sympathize, like the sympathy. I have to like go into it. And I felt like how it was pulling me. And then I didn't want it to pull me. And it was really about this. It was a battle. And I didn't understand why I didn't have to go there. And I guess in that moment, there was something that my shaman said, and I realized that I had a choice and that I could choose what I tune in my energy to. So it doesn't matter if I have to lay on the ground and like, completely just like vomit in my life, or if I sit in the chair. It doesn't, like, it's not a difference in, there's a role for everything. And yeah, I feel like there is something with being able to be neutral and observing and knowing that there is there is a meaning with everything, and to be able to see the darkness and to see the light, to see the ice, to see the pimple, and to not actually have to really interact with it, but to know. And somehow, I guess what he told me was a saying in that language that means the most beautiful thought. Like, when you see all that, can you still have trust in you? Can you still live with that light inside somehow? Then it doesn't hurt anymore. Then you know that there is a meaning. And then, like, after dusk always comes dawn somehow. So I don't know, that's I'm kind of like processing, I feel, as I'm speaking. But it feels like it has to do with the Scorpio energy of going into the dark and being able to have that neutrality in the observation and see. Because that's kind of like when we have to see the devil in the face, in a way, like that's the discernment of where we're going to be able to come up from that as more than what we were before we faced it, I think.
Totally. And the 28 is saying it's there. The darkness is there. It's just a matter of if you're willing to hold it or not. And if you're not willing to hold it, it's a matter of that's saying, well, I want to go on my journey, but not with all of me. Just with the part I like, not with the part I don't like, or just with the part I'm comfortable with, not with the part I'm not comfortable with. And that's the illusion of separation. It's all of you. It's all going on the ride. It's just a matter of whether you're going to acknowledge that that's with you or not. And so it makes the ride, if you will, the journey is completely different when you acknowledge everything you're packing along on that journey. Yeah.
And I think I have one more question about the 6th line, actually, because we have done that a couple of times. I remember the 33, we did it, and we did with the 31, I think. So Ra is calling this the blaze of glory, I think it is. And he says it's a very, like, kind of not the fun line in the 384 lines that we have in the whole Rave Mandala. So yeah, let's tap into the 6th line of the 28 and see if there is any wisdom on that level.
Well, the 28 says it's not fun in the sense that it's almost like, imagine that you're everything. You're the first line, the second line, the third line, the fourth line, the fifth line, the sixth line, and you're peeling off the six, like literally peeling the face off of off of the other lines. And so the 28 says it's not thrilling in that sense, because it's really, this peeling off of the six from the rest. Because to be into the inner to be into the energy of the future of what's coming, you have to really peel off from what was, so you can be totally in the energy of what is there to come in. And so the 28 says it's not thrilling sometimes to be torn off of everything that you've ever known. And she says, imagine that you've just been pulled off, torn off, peeled off of everything that, your whole foundation. And now you're in this new energy that there's no map for, there's no code for, there's no, it's like a discovery. You have to, you've lost the foundation of who you are. And you have to, you're in this new energy, no map, no guidebook, often no comrade, you're just out there. And you have to make sense of it. And she says, in a sense, you can think of it as a baby being born into a human body, all of this consciousness coming, into this new body, and doesn't know how to speak this language, doesn't know how to use the limbs, has all the awareness, but not the the structure to make it all happen quickly and easily. So she says, in a sense, that um, you're being born into something new without the foundation of what you've just come through. So she says it is challenging, but it's also extraordinarily thrilling. So yeah, it's kind of both.
I love that. I realized that my moon is the 28.6. I often more think about my pearl because that's the only one that, or my Jupiter, which is the only one I have in my gene keys. So it's the third line, which is kind of all about trial and error and unfounded risk taking. I do realize, though, I like that kind of simple explanation of the moon being the drive. So I understand why I would end up, in all these different places in the world. And I've always said, even if you put me in the forest in Brazil, it's going to take me 3 days. And there is something where that 28 is finding a purpose. But it's like, it's also looking for kind of the new, the future, that the beyond. And it wants to live that. And I think being a baby again, in a new language or a new culture or a new setting, it's like, that's where the 28 is actually finding the purpose. And that's kind of how the human being can walk into the future. And more now, we are going to find ourselves, I guess, in situations that are kind of that we are a baby and we have to cope with them and do something new. There's something strong with that. And I guess what comes after is the 44. It's the 44 to 1. If it's the 44, it's all about teamwork. So it's almost like that 28 is like already looking over, like, how can we do it together once we have to start over again? So the synergy that can come out of starting from zero and learning together. It's what comes through for me.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, this is feeling like a completion, unless we have other questions.
Yeah, we don't have any questions, so I guess that we are good. We're done. If you have questions afterwards, you can post them. And I think I'm just gonna post the link to the 28th door that is coming out today, and the link
Perfect.
and the link as well to the Soul Conversation readings if you want to book a reading with Simone and me and kind of play with your own chart in this way, play with your own archetype in this way. So yeah, and actually we do have interesting. We have just a comment here from Salpi, so we have bringing in somebody before we end. Yeah, so 28.6. Simone, do you have to go, or do we want to say something about the culture sphere with the 28, or are you?
No, we can. Let's see what the 28 has to say about Sophie's. So, Sophie, I have the 28.62. Does it have anything to say about culture? So, in other words, what you're asking is, just so I'm clear, what I'm asking the 28. If the 28 were in the culture sphere, what would it have to share with you? So let's see what the 28 says. Oh, and 28.6 even more specifically. Well, the first thing the 28 says is that can be a challenging placement to have a 28.6 in the culture sphere, because you're bringing to the group the unknown, the new. And that can be hard for the group to, in a sense, submit to. because they have the grounding. The group is the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, the 5, with all of their wisdom in each of those lines. And they know the truth of, the 1 knows the truth of the 1, and the 2 knows the truth of the 1 and the 2, and so on. And so it can be very hard for the group with the 28.6 also in that group, because the 28.6 can't do anything but go to the future and have that rebirth. And yet the rest are grounded in what is, and they don't have the awareness of that. And so the 28 says that that is a very hard, a challenging placement. But what you can do is stay in the purity of consciousness of who you are. If you can stay in the purity of your consciousness and stay grounded in that, what will happen is the people in your group will feel, see, know, understand, trust the purity of who you are. And so then what happens is they have so much trust and faith in you that they can eventually, in a sense, submit and receive the new coming in, even when that new doesn't have a roadmap, and it's a bit of a it can be a bit of a journey, because, like, as Bella was mentioning earlier on, that for those who have a defined splenic gate, it's going to be a roller coaster, and they're going to have that full range. And for the ones who are undefined, they're going to be just like, what's the task? So you have the group that has it all. And so, but when they trust you and they believe in the integrity of you, and they can feel the integrity of you in your body, that's when the group can, in a sense, release, relax, exhale, submit, and go on that journey with you. So really just be in the truth and integrity of who you are. Consistently show up in that purity and that integrity. And that's what gives the group the strength, the courage, the wisdom, the capacity to take that leap. So I hope, Salpi, that helped you. And what an amazing question. I feel so blessed to see what the 28 would say in the culture sphere. So thank you for that.
I feel like I just want to add to that, because the 28 is my pearl, and it's also my moon. And I would say you're role modeling this. You're a 6 line. So when you have it in your culture on an everyday basis, the culture is like, how do you work best? What is your best environment on an everyday basis so that you can create value and abundance in the world? So for you is to be a role model of this. For me, it's kind of my drive in a way. It's kind of hidden, or the pearl is a 3rd line, so I'm kind of just doing it for my own celebration. But you having a 28 in a line 6 in your culture, it's you being a role model for this way of living. And I feel like, to kind of clarify the thing with the roller coaster, I do believe that it would feel more like a roller coaster if you have a defined emotional center. If you have a defined splenic center, I feel like it would be more kind of that go, 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 in a way, like kind of that instinct of like continue. So it's an interesting, like, are you an emotional inner authority? Are you an emotional being? Then I feel like you're going to feel the wave structure. If you're just splenic, I feel like it's your instinct, like, that is going to say, let me wake up somewhere else. What's the next adventure? That's what the defined spleen, I feel, would say. And it would, yeah, as an animal, kind of just instinctively, intuitively know, it would take you on those adventure. And for you to role model that kind of trust in life for everybody else in every moment, like, that's what you're here to do, nothing else, in a way. Like, that's the highest expression of that culture sphere. The 28.6 is how it looks for me.
As you were talking, the 28 was like putting in my field the feeling of excitement, like, wow, what an amazing, amazing way to lead from the culture sphere. Yeah, so cool.
And I think, Salvi, we are pretty, like, I don't know, same age, and like also similar. I have spleen, I have sacral, and I have, the 44 comes after the 28. So we are probably pretty like pretty the same in many things here. So yeah, thank you for sharing. It's always so fun when you guys come on and we get a real life example. We have another question that is just like, it's about the nature of how to live in that totality of the 28 when the mind kind of doesn't want to do that, when the mind replaces the old story. So what would be the advice to learn to be more in the present?
So, I'm going to be really transparent right this second. I need 2 seconds because I'm dog sitting and the dog I'm sitting is barking at my neighbor and I'm feeling like distracted. So I'm just going to take a minute and handle that and I will be right back. So thank you.
That's cool. That to be in the moment. I think I'm gonna mute her. I didn't mute her, I muted me. So I feel like this question is such a classical question about how to get out of the mind and into the courage of living life here and now. I think one thing that's really powerful when it comes to that we can look at when it comes to the 28 is to look together with the 32, which is the codon ring of illusion. So I would say, like, what would be the worst thing on your deathbed? Wouldn't it be to lay there and say, you know, why did I postpone my life? Why did I never live my life? So instead of kind of going in and, I mean, try to battle with your own mind, it's more about not postponing your life. That's the thing with the codon ring of illusion. It's like you either you have the fear of death or you have the fear of like not living fulfilled. And what happens with all that is that you end up postponing everything. So coming into just knowing that in this incarnation, you might have 80 years, you might have less, you might have more, but it's probably not going to be more than 120. So what is the adventure that you want to live? And more coming into kind of the desire of the adventure than to allow the mind to dictate. Because that's kind of boring story. That's kind of what I feel. Simone. Oh, I muted you.
Thanks for y'all's patience. And I just found the whole thing fascinating. I'm going to just share what happened was that I'm downstairs and the little being that I'm dog sitting, Panda, she's upstairs asking me to let her in on the upper level. So, kind of
She wasn't talking
relates
to the neighbor. She was actually asking you to come in.
She was actually asking me, let me in, and the door's open right here. It's like she was at the upper level, but it was just really related to this soul communication that I needed to just own that this is calling me and I have to take care of it, and it's an adventure, and I've never stopped a soul communication to take care of something. But it was just like, it's okay. That's what's calling you. You need to, just take care of what you're taking, and go on that journey. And then I think it was just perfect that, it continues, right? And being willing to be vulnerable in that moment and embrace the totality of it all, right? So yeah, super cool. It's a constant journey, right, you guys? All right.
Yeah, I think we're done for today. And yeah, thank you for being with us. And if you have any other questions, also we are always going live around 7 Eastern time on Mondays. So if you want to come and actually have, know that you have, for example, the 44 that we're going to in the next transit, come on, because you see how much more fun it is at the end when we can all co-create. So thank you for being here with us today.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.